Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video from our channel, US Celebrity Tributes. In this video, we'll be highlighting American celebrities who have passed away today and in the last few days, along with other notable figures from around the world. Before we proceed, we kindly ask you to show your love and support by giving this video a like. It means a lot to us. Thank you. And now, let's begin.
1. Anthony Geary, the actor who brought Luke Spencer to life on General Hospital, has died at age 78. He passed away on December 14th in the Netherlands, just days after a medical procedure. Born in Utah, Geary first appeared on the show in 1978. What began as a short-term role quickly became legendary thanks to the powerful connection between Luke and Laura, a love story that captivated millions. Fans were drawn to Luke's complexity, a character who wasn't a typical hero. That depth helped Geary win a record 8 Daytime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Lead Actor. Although he stepped away from the show in 1984, he returned in 1993 and continued to play Luke on and off until his final episode in 2015. His last on-screen appearance aired July 27th of that year. Even after he left, the character remained central to the story. In a dramatic 2022 twist, Luke's fate was sealed when his widow, Tracy, told Laura he had died in a cable car accident in Austria. Anthony Geary changed daytime television with a role that spanned decades and touched generations. His impact, both on screen and behind the scenes, will not be forgotten. 2. Carl Carlton, the voice behind timeless hits like Everlasting Love and She's a Bad Mama Jama, has passed away at 72. His son shared the news on December 14th. Born in Detroit in 1953, Carlton started his music journey in the mid-60s as Little Carl Carlton. By 1974, he had a national hit with a disco-style version of Everlasting Love, which soared to number 6 on the Billboard 100 and remains a fan favorite today with over 25 million streams on Spotify. In 1981, Carlton released what would become his signature anthem, She's a Bad Mama Jama, written by Leon Haywood. The track lit up dance floors and climbed to number 2 on the Soul chart, earning Carlton a Grammy nomination. That same year, his self-titled album went gold. Throughout the 80s, Carlton released more albums and later returned with 2 more projects, Main Event in 1994 and God is Good in 2010, the latter earning him a Detroit Music Award nomination. His unique blend of funk, soul, and charisma left an unmistakable mark on music lovers around the world. Carlton's sound defined a generation of R&B and funk, and his songs continue to bring people to their feet. His voice, his groove, and his legacy live on. 3. Rob Reiner, the acclaimed filmmaker and actor whose work shaped generations of film and television fans, has died at the age of 77. He and his wife, Michelle, was found at their Brentwood home on December 14th. Authorities are continuing to review the circumstances surrounding their passing. Reiner's influence on Hollywood spans more than 5 decades. He first became a household name in the 1970s as Michael Meathead Stivic on All in the Family, a role that placed him at the center of one of television's most influential eras. That early success opened the door to an extraordinary career behind the camera. In 1984, Reiner made his directorial debut with This Is Spinal Tap, a film that redefined comedy and storytelling. He went on to direct a remarkable run of classics, including Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, and A Few Good Men. Films that continue to resonate with audiences across generations. Rob Reiner's storytelling, humor, and emotional depth helped define modern cinema. His legacy lives on through the unforgettable films that shaped popular culture and inspired countless filmmakers who followed in his footsteps. 5. Jim Ward, the talented voice behind iconic characters from The Fairly Odd Parents and Ratchet and Clank, died at the age of 66. His passing was confirmed on December 10th. With a voice known to millions, Ward became a beloved figure in animation and gaming over a career that spanned more than 3 decades. He first gained recognition as the unforgettable voices of Cosmo and Doug Dimmadome on The Fairly Odd Parents, roles that became fan favorites across generations. In gaming, he was the voice of Captain Quark in the Ratchet and Clank series, delivering a mix of comedy and action that defined the franchise's tone. Ward's career began in the late 80s with a role in Mighty Mouse: The New Adventures, and quickly expanded to include dozens of shows, films, and games. He also voiced Spider-Man in the 1993 Sega CD game Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin, marking one of his earliest gaming credits. Beyond animation, Ward was a longtime co-host on The Stephanie Miller Show, where his wit and timing brought a new dimension to talk radio from 2004 to 2017. Jim Ward's voice was more than just sound. It was character, charm, and heart. His work will continue to live on in the ears and memories of fans around the world. 6. Jeff Garcia, the voice behind the unforgettable Sheen Stevez from Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, has passed away at 50. His passing was confirmed on December 10th. Known for his high-energy voice work and sharp comedy, Garcia brought life to one of Nickelodeon's most iconic animated characters. Born in 1975, Garcia began his career in the early 90s as a stand-up comedian, quickly gaining attention for his unique delivery and vibrant personality. He appeared briefly in shows like Caroline in the City and Dangerous Minds, but it was his role as the ultra-lord-obsessed Sheen that turned him into a fan favorite. First in the 2001 film Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, and later in the spin-off series The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron and Planet Sheen. Garcia's performance became a key part of the franchise's charm. He also voiced characters in popular animated hits like Barnyard, Back at the Barnyard, Happy Feet, and Rio, bringing warmth and humor to every role. His presence extended into live action as well, including a role in the sitcom Mr. Box Office. Jeff Garcia's voice shaped childhoods and brought laughter to millions. His legacy lives on through the characters he brought to life and the joy he shared with every performance.
Matthew David McConaughey. Born on November 4, 1969, in Uvalde, Texas, Matthew McConaughey entered the world as the youngest of 3 boys. His parents, James Donald McConaughey and Mary Kathleen McCabe, had a relationship that could only be described as passionate, turbulent, and unforgettable. They divorced twice and remarried 3 times to each other. Yes, you heard that right. 3 times. This wasn't just love, this was something more raw, more real, and undoubtedly more complicated. His father, Jim McConaughey, ran an oil pipe supply business and was known for being tough as nails. He was the kind of man who believed in hard work, discipline, and teaching his sons to stand on their own 2 feet. Matthew has spoken openly about how his father shaped him, not through gentle encouragement, but through tough love and real-world lessons that would stick with him forever. His mother, Kay, was a force of nature in her own right. A former kindergarten teacher who later became an author, Kay was vibrant, outspoken, and fiercely independent. She wasn't the type to sit quietly in the background. She lived loudly, loved loudly, and made sure her boys knew what it meant to be strong, resilient, and unapologetically themselves. Growing up in Longview, Texas, Matthew's childhood was far from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. It was filled with Friday night football games, church on Sundays, and the kind of small-town values that would later define the man he became. He wasn't raised with silver spoons or red carpets. He was raised with dirt under his fingernails and sweat on his brow. Matthew attended Longview High School, where he was a typical Texas teenager. He played golf, he was voted most handsome, and he had dreams that extended beyond the borders of his hometown. But acting? That wasn't even on his radar yet. In fact, when he graduated in 1988, his plan was to study law. He wanted to be a lawyer, following a path that seemed practical, stable, and respectable. He enrolled at the University of Texas at Austin, initially pursuing a degree in law. But something happened during his time there. He stumbled into a film production class and suddenly, everything changed. The courtroom lost its appeal. The scripts, the stories, the characters. That's where his heart began to pull him. He switched his major to radio-television film, a decision that would alter the trajectory of his entire life. But even then, Hollywood wasn't calling. Not yet. Matthew was just a college kid trying to figure out who he was and what he wanted. He spent a year as an exchange student in Australia, broadening his horizons and experiencing life beyond Texas. Those experiences shaped him, gave him perspective, and prepared him for the unpredictable journey ahead. After graduating in 1993, Matthew faced a crossroads. He could play it safe, take a conventional job, and live a conventional life. Or he could take a risk. He could chase something uncertain, something wild, something that felt right in his gut even if it didn't make sense on paper. And so, he made the choice that would define everything. He decided to pursue acting. Matthew McConaughey's entry into Hollywood wasn't a carefully orchestrated plan. It was a series of fortunate accidents, chance encounters, and being in the right place at the right time. In 1993, while hanging out at a bar in Austin, Texas, Matthew struck up a conversation with a casting director. That conversation led to a small role in a film called Dazed and Confused. Directed by Richard Linklater, Dazed and Confused was a coming-of-age comedy set in 1976 Texas. Matthew was cast as David Wooderson, a guy in his early 20s who still hangs around high school kids. The role wasn't large, but it was memorable. With his character's iconic line, "All right, all right, all right," Matthew created a moment that would follow him for the rest of his career. That phrase, delivered with effortless cool, became his signature, something fans would quote back to him for decades. But success didn't come overnight. After Dazed and Confused, Matthew spent the next few years bouncing between small roles in films that didn't make much of an impact. Angels in the Outfield, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, and Boys on the Side kept him working, but he wasn't a star yet. He was just another actor grinding it out, hoping for his big break. That break came in 1996 with A Time to Kill. Directed by Joel Schumacher and based on John Grisham's best-selling novel, the film gave Matthew his first leading role. He played Jake Brigance, a young lawyer defending a black man accused of avenging his daughter's assault in the racially charged Deep South. It was a heavy, dramatic role that required depth, intensity, and the ability to carry an entire film. Matthew delivered. Critics took notice, audiences responded, and suddenly, he wasn't just the guy from Dazed and Confused anymore. He was a legitimate leading man. The film grossed over $152 million worldwide, and Matthew's career trajectory shifted dramatically. Hollywood saw potential in him, and the offers started rolling in. What followed was an era that would later become known as the rom-com years. Matthew became the go-to guy for romantic comedies, starring in films like The Wedding Planner opposite Jennifer Lopez, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days with Kate Hudson, Failure to Launch with Sarah Jessica Parker, and Fool's Gold, again with Kate Hudson. These movies made him a household name, a heartthrob, and a bankable star. But there was a problem. Matthew was being typecast. He was making millions playing the charming, shirtless guy who gets the girl, but he wasn't being challenged as an actor. The roles were becoming repetitive, the characters indistinguishable from one another. He was stuck in a golden cage, comfortable but creatively unfulfilled. By the late 2000s, Matthew realized something had to change. He was turning down romantic comedies left and right, refusing to play the same character over and over again. He took a risk that many thought was career-ending. He stepped away from Hollywood, stopped taking the easy money, and waited for something different, something real, something that would allow him to prove he was more than just a pretty face. This period of his life, which he later called the McConaissance, was a gamble. He didn't work for nearly 2 years, turning down millions of dollars because the roles didn't excite him. People in the industry thought he was crazy, but Matthew trusted his instincts. He knew he had more to offer, and he was willing to bet his career on it. The gamble paid off in ways that exceeded even Matthew's expectations. In 2011, he returned to the screen with a vengeance, taking on roles that were darker, grittier, and infinitely more complex than anything he'd done before. This wasn't the Matthew McConaughey audiences thought they knew. This was an actor reborn, hungry to prove himself, and determined to leave a mark. It started with The Lincoln Lawyer, a legal thriller where Matthew played Mickey Haller, a defense attorney who operates out of the back of his Lincoln Continental. The film was a commercial success, but more importantly, it signaled that Matthew was serious about changing his image. He wasn't just the romantic lead anymore. He was an actor capable of depth, intensity, and carrying a thriller on his shoulders. Then came Mud in 2012, directed by Jeff Nichols. Matthew played a fugitive hiding out on a deserted island, and his performance was raw, vulnerable, and completely captivating. Critics praised the film, and Matthew's transformation was becoming impossible to ignore. He was shedding the rom-com skin and revealing something far more interesting underneath. But the real turning point came in 2013, a year that would forever change how Hollywood and audiences viewed Matthew McConaughey. He starred in 3 films that showcased his incredible range and commitment to his craft. First was Magic Mike, directed by Steven Soderbergh. Matthew played Dallas, a strip club owner with charisma to spare. He stole every scene he was in, delivering a performance that was equal parts entertaining and surprisingly nuanced. The film was a box office hit, and Matthew's role became one of the most talked about performances of the year. Then came The Paperboy, directed by Lee Daniels. Matthew played a reporter investigating a murder case in the swampy South. The film was divisive, but Matthew's commitment to the role was undeniable. He was taking risks, choosing projects that challenged him, and working with directors who pushed him to explore uncomfortable territories. But the film that truly cemented his comeback was Dallas Buyers Club. Directed by Jean-Marc Vallée, the film told the true story of Ron Woodruff, a Texas electrician diagnosed with AIDS in the 1980s who smuggled unapproved pharmaceutical drugs into the United States to help himself and other patients. Matthew lost 47 pounds for the role, transforming his body in a way that was shocking and deeply committed. His performance was raw, fearless, and heartbreaking. He disappeared into the character, delivering one of the most powerful performances of his career. The film received critical acclaim, and Matthew's portrayal of Ron Woodruff earned him nearly every major award in Hollywood. At the 2014 Academy Awards, Matthew McConaughey won the Oscar for Best Actor. In his acceptance speech, he delivered a memorable monologue about his 3 things he needs each day: something to look up to, something to look forward to, and someone to chase. That someone, he said, was himself in 10 years, because his hero is always just out of reach. That same year, Matthew also starred in the first season of HBO's True Detective alongside Woody Harrelson. Playing Detective Rust Coley, a philosophical, troubled investigator, Matthew delivered a performance that was haunting, complex, and utterly mesmerizing. The show became a cultural phenomenon, and Matthew's portrayal of Cole is still considered one of the greatest television performances of all time. The McConaissance was complete. Matthew had gone from romantic comedy staple to one of the most respected actors in the industry. He had proven that reinvention was possible, that taking risks could pay off, and that true talent would always find a way to shine through. After his Oscar win and the massive success of True Detective, Matthew McConaughey was no longer fighting for respect. He had it. Hollywood had witnessed his transformation, and now every director wanted to work with him. But Matthew didn't let the acclaim change his approach. He continued choosing roles that challenged him, that pushed boundaries, and that allowed him to explore different facets of his craft. In 2014, he starred in Interstellar, directed by Christopher Nolan. Playing Cooper, a former NASA pilot tasked with finding a new habitable planet for humanity, Matthew anchored one of the most ambitious science fiction films ever made. The role required him to convey deep emotion while navigating complex scientific concepts and spectacular visual effects. His performance brought warmth and humanity to a film that could have easily been cold and detached. Interstellar became a massive commercial success, grossing over $700 million worldwide, and is now considered a modern sci-fi classic. He followed that with The Sea of Trees in 2015, a drama about a man who travels to Japan's Aokigahara forest with the intent of ending his life, only to encounter a Japanese man who's also lost. While the film received mixed reviews, Matthew's willingness to tackle such heavy, emotional material showed his continued commitment to complex storytelling. That same year brought Free State of Jones, where Matthew played Newton Knight, a Civil War deserter who led a rebellion against the Confederacy in Mississippi. The historical drama was a passion project that allowed Matthew to explore American history and racial dynamics in the South. Though it didn't achieve major commercial success, it demonstrated his interest in telling important, socially relevant stories. In 2016, Matthew returned to lighter fare with Sing, an animated film where he voiced Buster Moon, an optimistic koala who runs a theater. The film was a hit with families and showcased Matthew's versatility. He reprised the role in Sing 2 in 2021, proving he could excel in any genre, even animation. Matthew continued taking on diverse projects. Gold in 2016 saw him playing Kenny Wells, a prospector who travels to Indonesia seeking fortune. Once again, Matthew transformed physically for the role, gaining weight and sporting a receding hairline and bad teeth. The dedication to physical transformation had become his trademark. The Dark Tower in 2017 paired him with Idris Elba in an adaptation of Stephen King's epic series. Playing the villainous Man in Black, Matthew embraced playing a darker character. Though the film disappointed fans of the books, it showed Matthew's willingness to step into franchise territory and play against type as a villain. White Boy Rick in 2018 saw Matthew playing the father of a teenage FBI informant in 1980s Detroit. The true crime drama gave him another opportunity to explore complicated father-son dynamics, a theme that resonated deeply with his own life experiences. In 2019, he appeared in The Gentleman, directed by Guy Ritchie. Playing Mickey Pearson, an American expat running a marijuana empire in London, Matthew delivered a performance full of swagger and menace. The film was a commercial success and reminded audiences that Matthew could dominate the screen with sheer charisma. The Beach Bum in 2019, directed by Harmony Korine, was one of his most unusual choices. Playing Moondog, a rebellious, hedonistic poet living in the Florida Keys, Matthew created a character that was outrageous, unpredictable, and completely unrestrained. The film wasn't for everyone, but it proved Matthew's fearlessness in choosing unconventional projects. Beyond acting, Matthew also pursued other ventures. In 2020, he released his memoir, Green Lights, which became a massive bestseller. The book offered insights into his philosophy on life, his childhood, his career, and the lessons he'd learned along the way. It was raw, honest, and deeply personal, giving fans a glimpse into the mind of a man who'd always marched to the beat of his own drum. Matthew also became a professor at the University of Texas at Austin, teaching film classes and sharing his knowledge with the next generation of filmmakers. He's involved in various philanthropic efforts through his Just Keep Livin' Foundation, which empowers high school students to lead active and healthy lives. Throughout his career, Matthew McConaughey has pushed his body to extremes in the name of his craft. The physical transformations he's undergone for various roles have become legendary in Hollywood, but they've also raised questions about the toll such dramatic changes take on a person's health. The most extreme transformation came for Dallas Buyers Club in 2013. To play Ron Woodroof, a man dying from complications related to AIDS, Matthew lost 47 pounds, His weight dropped to around 135 pounds, a shocking change for someone who normally maintains a lean but healthy physique. The transformation required a strict diet of vegetables, fish, and tapioca pudding, combined with intense portion control and exercise. Matthew has spoken about how difficult that period was, not just physically but mentally. Losing that much weight affected his energy levels, his mood, and his overall well-being. He described feeling weak, tired, and sometimes disoriented. But he also spoke about the clarity it gave him, the way it helped him understand the character's desperation and vulnerability. The physical suffering became a tool for his performance. After filming Wrapped, Matthew faced the challenge of gaining the weight back safely. Rapid weight loss followed by rapid weight gain can be dangerous, causing metabolic issues, heart problems, and other health complications. He worked with nutritionists and doctors to ensure he regained weight in a healthy, controlled manner. But the experience left a mark on him, and he's been cautious about such extreme transformations since. For Gold, in 2016, Matthew went in the opposite direction, gaining significant weight and adopting a much less healthy appearance. He added about 40 pounds, balding his hair, and deliberately making himself look unhealthy to portray the struggling prospector Kenny Wells. While not as dangerous as extreme weight loss, rapid weight gain also carries health risks, including strain on the heart, joints, and metabolic system. Beyond these dramatic transformations, Matthew has been relatively fortunate when it comes to serious health issues. He's been open about his commitment to fitness and maintaining an active lifestyle. He practices yoga, surfs, runs, and stays physically active, habits that have helped him maintain good health throughout his career. However, like anyone who's spent decades in the entertainment industry, Matthew has dealt with the physical wear and tear that comes with the job. Stunt work, long hours on set, and the demands of physically demanding roles have taken their toll. He's dealt with minor injuries over the years, though nothing that significantly impacted his ability to work. Matthew has also been vocal about mental health and the importance of taking care of one's emotional well-being. In interviews and in his memoir, he's discussed the challenges of fame, the pressure of Hollywood, and the importance of staying grounded. He's talked about meditation, journaling, and maintaining strong relationships as tools for mental health. One aspect of health that Matthew has emphasized is balance. After years of pushing himself to extremes, he's become more mindful about the risks he takes with his body. He's stated that he wouldn't necessarily pursue such drastic physical transformations again unless the role absolutely demanded it, and the timing was right in his life. Matthew has also been fortunate to avoid many of the pitfalls that have affected other actors in Hollywood. He's never struggled publicly with substance issues, despite spending years in an industry where such problems are common. He's credited his Texas upbringing, his strong family foundation, and his own sense of self for keeping him grounded. As he's gotten older, Matthew has become more focused on longevity and sustainable health rather than dramatic transformations. He's in his 50s now, and his approach to fitness and wellness reflects a man who's thinking about the long game. He wants to be healthy and active for his family, for his career, and for himself. Every life, no matter how successful or charmed it may appear from the outside, carries its share of grief and loss. For Matthew McConaughey, despite all the fame, fortune, and accolades, he's experienced profound losses that have shaped who he is today. The most significant loss in Matthew's life came in 1992 when his father, James Donald McConaughey, passed away. Jim McConaughey died of a heart attack at the age of 63, and the circumstances of his death have become part of family lore. According to Matthew and his mother Kay, Jim died while being intimate with Kay. It was a story that could have been kept private, but the family has spoken about it openly, even finding a certain poetry in it. Kay has said that's exactly how Jim would have wanted to go, in a moment of passion and love. Matthew was 23 years old when his father died, just a year before he would land his breakthrough role in Dazed and Confused. He was still finding his way in the world, still figuring out who he wanted to be, and losing his father at that pivotal moment left a mark that would never fully heal. Jim McConaughey was a tough, no-nonsense man who taught his sons about hard work, integrity, and standing up for themselves. His influence on Matthew was profound, and his absence has been felt throughout Matthew's life. Matthew has spoken extensively about his father in interviews and in his memoir, Green Lights. He's described Jim as a man who lived life on his own terms, who didn't apologize for who he was, and who taught his sons to be strong, independent men. The lessons Jim imparted didn't die with him. They became the foundation of Matthew's philosophy on life, work, and family. Losing his father so young meant that Matthew had to navigate his rise to fame without his dad's guidance. He couldn't call Jim to celebrate his successes, to ask for advice during difficult times, or to share the moments that matter most. That absence has been something Matthew has carried with him, a bittersweet reality that even as his life became more successful, there was always someone missing from the celebration. Beyond his father's death, Matthew has experienced other losses over the years. Friends, colleagues, and people he's worked with have passed away, as is inevitable over the course of a long career in Hollywood. While he's kept many of these losses private, they've contributed to his perspective on life, mortality, and what truly matters. Matthew has also dealt with the loss of relationships and the pain that comes with the end of significant connections. Before meeting his wife, Camila Alves, Matthew had several high-profile relationships that didn't work out. While breakups aren't the same as death, they carry their own form of grief, the loss of what could have been, the end of shared dreams and futures. His mother, Kay, who was such a vibrant force in his life, is still alive and remains close to Matthew. However, watching a parent age and dealing with the reality that time is finite brings its own challenges. Matthew has spoken about his deep love for his mother and the importance of cherishing the time they have together. Throughout all these losses and challenges, Matthew has developed a philosophy about grief and moving forward. He doesn't believe in dwelling on the past or being consumed by what's been lost. Instead, he chooses to honor those who've passed by living fully, by carrying their lessons forward and by being present in his own life. In Green Lights, Matthew writes about catching green lights in life, those moments when everything aligns and moves forward. But he also acknowledges the red and yellow lights, the stops and pauses that force us to reflect, to grieve, and to recalibrate. He sees loss not as an ending, but as part of the journey, a painful but necessary part of what makes us human. Matthew's approach to loss reflects the values his father instilled in him: resilience, strength, and the refusal to be defeated by circumstances. He doesn't pretend the pain isn't real, but he also doesn't let it define him. He moves forward, carrying the memories and lessons with him, but never allowing grief to stop him from living. While Matthew McConaughey's professional life has been a subject of public fascination for decades, his personal life tells an equally compelling story. Behind the movie star persona is a man deeply committed to family, partnership, and creating a life that extends far beyond the Hollywood spotlight. Matthew met Camila Alves in 2006 at a Los Angeles club. Camila, a Brazilian-American model and designer, caught his attention immediately. Matthew has described the moment he saw her as one of those life-changing instances where everything suddenly makes sense. He knew almost instantly that she was different from anyone he'd dated before. Their connection was immediate, authentic, and undeniable. But Matthew didn't rush into anything. He was in his late 30s, had been through relationships before, and understood the difference between infatuation and something real. He and Camila took their time, building a foundation based on genuine connection, shared values, and mutual respect. They dated for several years before taking the next steps in their relationship. In 2008, Camila gave birth to their first child, a son named Levi. Becoming a father transformed Matthew in ways he couldn't have anticipated. He's spoken about how fatherhood grounded him, gave him purpose beyond his career, and showed him what truly matters in life. The responsibilities of raising a child, the joy of watching someone grow, and the unconditional love that comes with parenthood changed his perspective on everything. In 2010, the couple welcomed their daughter Vida. 2 children under the age of 3 meant Matthew's life was no longer just about scripts, filming schedules, and award shows. It was about diaper changes, sleepless nights, and the beautiful chaos that comes with raising young children. Matthew embraced it all, often bringing his family to film sets and refusing to let his career completely consume his time with his kids. Matthew and Camilla married in June 2012 in a private ceremony in Austin, Texas. It wasn't a huge Hollywood wedding with paparazzi and magazine deals. It was intimate, personal, and exactly what they wanted. Matthew has always been protective of his family's privacy, understanding that while he chose a public life, his children didn't, and they deserve as normal a childhood as possible. In 2012, just months after their wedding, Camilla gave birth to their 3rd child, a son named Livingston. With 3 young children, Matthew and Camilla had their hands full, but they approached parenthood as a team, supporting each other and making sure their children were raised with strong values, discipline, and love. Matthew has been remarkably open about his approach to fatherhood. He believes in teaching his children respect, hard work, and the importance of earning what they have. He doesn't want them growing up entitled or disconnected from reality just because their father is famous. He and Camilla have raised their kids largely in Austin, Texas, away from the Hollywood bubble, giving them a more grounded upbringing. Despite his fame, Matthew lives a relatively normal life when he's not working. He coaches his kids' sports teams, attends school events, and makes family dinners a priority. He's intentional about being present, about not letting his career overshadow the most important role he'll ever have, being a father and husband. Camilla has also built her own successful career. She's a designer, entrepreneur, and co-founder of the organic baby food company Yummy Spoonfuls. She's also been involved in various other business ventures and philanthropic efforts. Their partnership is one of equals, 2 people supporting each other's dreams while building a life together. Matthew has spoken about how Camilla keeps him grounded, challenges him, and isn't impressed by Hollywood nonsense. She knew him before his career renaissance, before the Oscar, and she loves him for who he is, not what he's accomplished. That kind of partnership, built on genuine connection rather than status or fame, is rare in Hollywood. Today, Matthew McConaughey is living a life that reflects everything he's learned over 5 decades. He's no longer the young actor trying to prove himself, nor is he the rom-com star looking for an escape. He's a man who's found balance, purpose, and a clear sense of who he is and what matters most. At 55 years old, Matthew continues to act, but he's extremely selective about the projects he takes on. He's no longer chasing roles or trying to maintain a certain level of fame. Instead, he chooses work that interests him, that allows him to spend time with his family, and that aligns with his values. Quality over quantity has become his guiding principle. In recent years, Matthew has expanded his focus beyond just acting. His memoir, Green Lights, published in 2020, became a massive success, spending weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. The book offered readers an intimate look at his life philosophy, his journey, and the lessons he's learned along the way. It wasn't a typical celebrity memoir filled with gossip and name-dropping. It was thoughtful, introspective, and genuinely insightful. The success of Green Lights led to other opportunities. Matthew has done speaking engagements, podcast appearances, and has become something of a motivational figure. His authentic approach to life, his willingness to be vulnerable, and his unique perspective have resonated with people far beyond his fan base. Matthew's role as a professor at the University of Texas at Austin has also become increasingly important to him. He teaches classes in the film department, sharing his knowledge and experience with students who dream of working in the entertainment industry. He's passionate about education, about giving back, and about preparing the next generation for the realities of the business. His philanthropic work through the Just Keep Livin' Foundation continues to grow. The foundation, which he started in 2008, focuses on empowering high school students to lead active, healthy lives through fitness, wellness, and community service programs. It operates in schools across the country, making a real difference in young people's lives. Matthew has also become involved in various business ventures. He's a creative director and brand ambassador for Wild Turkey Bourbon, a partnership that's lasted for years. He's also been the face of Lincoln Automobiles in a series of memorable commercials that became cultural touchstones and even inspired parodies. These partnerships are carefully chosen, aligning with brands he genuinely believes in rather than just taking any endorsement deal that comes his way. There's also been ongoing speculation about Matthew's political ambitions. He's hinted multiple times about potentially running for governor of Texas, something that's generated significant media attention and public interest. While he hasn't officially announced any plans to enter politics, he hasn't ruled it out either. He's been vocal about various issues, particularly those affecting Texas and education, and it's clear he's thinking seriously about how he can make a broader impact. Matthew and Camilla continue to live primarily in Austin, raising their 3 children away from the Hollywood spotlight. They've built a life that prioritizes family, community, and authenticity over fame and fortune. Their children are growing up with strong values, understanding that while their father is famous, that doesn't define who they are or what's expected of them. Matthew still surfs, practices yoga, plays his bongos, and maintains the active lifestyle that's always been part of who he is. He's aging gracefully, embracing the natural process rather than fighting it with extreme measures. His approach to life remains consistent with the philosophy he's always had. Be authentic, work hard, treat people with respect, and keep moving forward. His recent film projects have been selective but interesting. He's focused on roles that challenge him or allow him to work with directors and actors he respects. He's no longer interested in being the biggest star in Hollywood. He's interested in doing work that matters, that tells meaningful stories, and that he can be proud of. Matthew McConaughey's journey from a small-town Texas kid to an Oscar-winning actor is more than just a success story. It's a testament to the power of authenticity, reinvention, and staying true to yourself even when the world tries to put you in a box. His life philosophy, which he's shared extensively through interviews, his memoir, and public appearances, offers insights that extend far beyond Hollywood. At the core of Matthew's worldview is the concept of green lights, the idea that life is full of moments when everything aligns and moves forward. But he's equally aware of the red lights and yellow lights, the obstacles and pauses that force us to stop, reflect, and sometimes change direction. He doesn't see these as failures or setbacks, but as necessary parts of the journey. Sometimes, he says, a red light eventually turns into a green light if you're patient and willing to learn from the pause. Matthew believes deeply in personal responsibility. He doesn't blame others for his failures or credit luck alone for his successes. He acknowledges the opportunities he's been given, the privilege he's had, but he also recognizes the work he's put in, the risks he's taken, and the choices he's made. This balance between gratitude and ownership defines his approach to life. One of his most repeated philosophies is about being his own hero. In his Oscar acceptance speech, he talked about how his hero is himself in 10 years, always just out of reach. This isn't narcissism or arrogance. It's about constant growth, about never being satisfied with where you are, about always striving to be better. It's a mindset that's kept him hungry, curious, and engaged with life even after achieving more than most people ever will. Matthew also talks frequently about the importance of defining success on your own terms. Hollywood has a very specific definition of success: box office numbers, award wins, fame, wealth. But Matthew has consistently pushed back against that narrow view. For him, success includes being a good father, maintaining a strong marriage, staying healthy, contributing to his community, and living a life that feels authentic and meaningful. His approach to fame is particularly interesting. He's never seemed starstruck by his own celebrity. He doesn't take himself too seriously, and he's always been willing to laugh at himself. Those Lincoln commercials that became memes? He embraced the parodies, understanding that being able to laugh at yourself is a sign of confidence, not weakness. He doesn't need everyone to take him seriously all the time because he knows who he is. Matthew's Texas roots remain central to his identity. Despite decades in Hollywood, he never became a typical Los Angeles celebrity. He moved back to Austin, raised his family there, and maintained connections to the place that shaped him. This grounding has been essential to his ability to navigate fame without losing himself. He knows where he comes from, and he's never tried to be something he's not. His views on parenting reflect his broader philosophy. He believes in discipline, structure, and teaching children that actions have consequences. But he also believes in love, support, and creating an environment where kids feel safe to be themselves. He wants his children to work hard, to earn what they have, and to understand that their father's fame doesn't entitle them to anything. It's a balance between privilege and responsibility, between giving them opportunities and making sure they appreciate them. Looking at Matthew's legacy, it's clear he'll be remembered for more than just his films. He'll be remembered as someone who reinvented himself when it would have been easier to stay comfortable. He took a massive risk stepping away from romantic comedies at the height of his earning power, and that risk redefined his career and proved that actors can break free from typecasting if they're willing to bet on themselves. His Oscar win for Dallas Buyers Club will always be a highlight, but his performance in True Detective might be his most enduring work. Rust Cohle remains one of the most compelling characters in television history, a role that showcased Matthew's ability to bring depth, philosophy, and darkness to a character in ways that few actors could. Beyond his professional achievements, Matthew's legacy includes his contributions to education, his philanthropic work, and his role as a cultural figure who represents a particular kind of authenticity. In an industry often criticized for being fake and superficial, Matthew has managed to remain genuine, accessible, and relatable. His memoir, Green Lights, will likely introduce him to new generations who might not know his films but connect with his life philosophy. The book transcends typical celebrity memoirs because it offers real wisdom, hard-earned lessons, and a perspective that comes from genuine reflection rather than manufactured inspiration. Matthew has also become an unexpected style icon, not in the traditional Hollywood sense, but as someone who embodies a relaxed, confident masculinity. He's comfortable in his own skin, whether he's in a tuxedo at the Oscars or shirtless playing bongos on a beach. This authenticity in presentation reflects his broader approach to life. Matthew McConaughey's story is proof that life doesn't follow a straight line. From a kid in Texas who wanted to be a lawyer to a rom-com heartthrob who felt trapped by success, to an Oscar-winning actor who redefined his career on his own terms, his journey has been anything but predictable. Today, he's exactly where he wants to be. He's selective about his work, devoted to his family, and focused on making an impact beyond the screen. Whether he's teaching students at the University of Texas, writing best-selling books, or considering a future in politics, Matthew continues to evolve and challenge himself. What makes his story so compelling isn't just the success, it's the authenticity. He never pretended to be someone he wasn't. He took risks when it would have been easier to play it safe. He walked away from millions of dollars because he knew there was more to offer than playing the same character over and over again. And when Hollywood finally gave him the chance to prove himself, he delivered in ways that exceeded everyone's expectations. Matthew McConaughey isn't just an actor. He's a father, husband, teacher, author, and philosopher. He's someone who's lived life on his own terms, made mistakes, learned from them, and kept moving forward. His legacy won't just be the films he's made or the awards he's won. It'll be the example he set for anyone trying to figure out who they are and what they want from life. All right. That's not just a catchphrase anymore. It's become a philosophy, a way of approaching life with confidence, humor, and an understanding that everything will work out if you stay true to yourself. And for Matthew McConaughey, that's always been enough.